Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Shelly Show. I'm Shailendra and you watching this simulcast live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I hope you're safe and observing the protocols in your area so we keep each other safe, healthy, and secure. Today we will talk about something very, very interesting. Metaverse it is. Metaverse. And everyone is talking about Metaverse. So I thought I get the best talent in town which knows Metaverse inside out, and we will talk about Metaverse. Metaverse is going to change our lives. It will change the way we live. And trust me, this is going to happen really soon. We have not even imagined how soon it's going to hit us. So I thought it's a good idea and good time to talk about Metaverse. What I'll also do is I'll try to bring it to life for you guys. So I suggest you stay on the show and also be ready for with your questions. And whenever you ask a question, I'll be there taking it up and asking it to our audience, to our guests. For you to view this episode and other sessions that run on emerging technologies live, I would request you to follow me so that you can be alerted when a live session is on. This gives you an opportunity to directly ask the questions from our guests. So please press the follow button if you're watching on LinkedIn and Twitter, on the subscribe button on YouTube, and if you're watching this on Facebook, then not only like it but also share it with other friends and other groups where people talk about artificial intelligence and things to do about machine learning and of course metaverse. Okay, so if you're watching this episode, please say hi, and also please let us know from where you're joining us from, which city, which country, whatever. Just put that there. Say a hi. Also, I would like to ask you: do you know about what metaverse is? If you know about metaverse, well, tell us whether you know or not, yes or no. And also, if you know about metaverse, then what do you think metaverse is? Put that in the comment section, and maybe we will take that as well. So for everyone who's seen my videos at the beginning of 2022, I started talking about how in the next 3 to 5 years it's going to be around about how much is it? 150 billion dollars worth of revenue that will be generated out of AI. So what I thought was that at each step of AI, for each industry, what we will do is we'll bring in thought leaders from the industry and have a conversation with you guys. So this is the series called AI Insight series. The name was also selected by some of our audience. So good stuff. We will talk about use cases, we will talk about techniques, the ecosystem, and much more. So let me not waste any time and bring to you our guests. My first guest is Utpal Chakraborty. He's an eminent data scientist, AI researcher, strategist, and thought leader with more than 2 decades of industry experience. Worked with IBM, Capgemini. Recently, he was the head of artificial intelligence at the Yes Bank, and currently he is the chief digital officer at Allied Digital Services. He is a well-known speaker and one of the top 100 AI influencers as well. So without any further ado, let me bring in Utpal Chakraborty. Hi Utpal,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Hello, Shailendra. I'm doing good. Thank you so much. How are
Thank you for
you?
coming back to the show and thank you for agreeing to come back.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. How was your week?
It was all good and excited to be part of this a good discussion on a new topic, metaverse and AI. So
Good
absolutely,
stuff.
yeah, looking
No, I,
forward.
I was excited the whole week because I wanted to know what's coming in. Okay, let's bring our second guest all the way from UK. Our second guest is Imtiaz Adam. Imtiaz is the founder of an AI startup, Deep Learn Strategies Limited, and he's working particularly on metaverse development, fintechs, and ESG. So he will be one of the persons who will be able to explain and unpeel or peel the onion, peel the metaverse onion. So without any further ado, let me bring in Imtiaz. Hi Imtiaz, how are you?
Hello,
Welcome back.
Shailendra. Pleasure to be back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming back to the show. Now, before I jump in, let me very, very quickly get our third guest and let's kick start. So, our third guest is Dr. Martha Boeckenfeld. Hopefully, I've pronounced it correctly, and I'll ask her that. More than over 20 years of experience and international exposure at financial executive, non-executive in institutions such as UBS, Unicredit, generally Winterthur Group, with the last decade focusing on platforms, platform economy, dynamic ecosystems, digital businesses, digital transformation, customer experience, and metaverse. As a thought leader with an entrepreneurial mindset, she is connecting people with visionary ideas and lead teams that deliver results and drive progress and innovation. So, without any further ado, let me bring in Martha Boeckenfeld. Have I got it right? Let me ask. Hi,
Yeah,
Martha. How
thank
are you?
you.
Welcome to the Shelly Show.
Thank you. Thank you. Very excited to be here.
So, did I get it right?
Yeah, absolutely. Your pronunciation is impeccable. So,
Thank you. So, for our audience, can you please tell one interesting fact about you? I ask all my guests. To these two gentlemen, I asked that last week, so I'm now asking you. Tell a thing, a funny thing about you, or something interesting that not many people know.
so shall I start, Shelley?
Yes, please.
Okay. So yeah, interesting thing is that I'm a bit unpredictable. So I like to venture always into new things. So that makes me unpredictable, I would say. So same to, I would say the metaverse has been keeping me, say, busy for the last 12 months when I discovered it, because if you are in platforms and text is quite normal. And since then, I would say I'm getting more and more addicted to it. So it's a little bit like games. We will certainly come to that. That once you have something, you get completely addicted. So that's about me.
Thank you. Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Really, really appreciate it. To my audience, guys, if you finding at the moment no value, but as you find value in this particular episode, please start pressing the like button. Don't forget to follow. And also, if you've got a question, put that in the comment section and I'll take that. So, the first question from me, what is metaverse? But before I get there, I would like to bring to life metaverse. So what I've done is I've collected a few videos and brought and created one video altogether. And let me just share that with the audience and let's see everyone. Let unpack that metaverse and how will it look like. So let's see what is metaverse. Here we go. Okay, so that was trying to bring it all together. What I thought was metaverse, getting some clippings from all over the place. So, guys, if you're liking it, press the like button and share it around. More and more people should learn from what is from this episode as well. So let me start with the lady in the house. So Martha, what do you think is metaverse? So this is what my view of metaverse was. So please kickstart. What is metaverse?
Yeah, I think there are already a lot of very good definitions around, but the most important for me that the metaverse is not something, and you have partially demonstrated that in the video, where you enter into, but it's kind of a space which is all around you. And we have to imagine that if everything becomes dematerialized, so we cannot touch it, like it's not tangible like we have today, that's the metaverse. And all the tools and gadgets, I'm sure, and the AI, my other colleagues will talk about. But I think the most important is to realize it will be all around us, and it is partially already. And we have seen that in the video. When you go to the shopping mall and so on and so forth, when you buy real estate, when you build a home, everything is already here. So to your beginning, or when you said at the beginning, you were saying it's the future, but we know the future is already here because all we have seen in your video is already live.
Imtiaz, what do you think is metaverse? Your point of view, mate.
No, I'd agree with what's been said by Marta and also the videos he showed. And we can think of it as a massively scaled interoperable network, and as a network of real-time, rendered 3D objects. And real-time is an important thing. There's a persistence and continuity of data, so you actually feel an individual presence. And so we're shifting into this world that's like the new internet, if we could view it that way, but one whereby we can interact real-time, dynamically with the things around us, the virtual objects around us. And although virtual reality is the dominant theme, I think going forwards, there'll also be a lot of activity with things like mixed reality, where you'll be able to, which is somewhere in between augmented reality and virtual reality, in the sense that it's taking augmented reality but allowing it to then place it in an interactive manner with real-world objects. So it's this fusion between digital and physical, ultimately, where we'll get to, albeit you can also view it as a virtual world with, like I said, persistence of data and real-time rendered 3D objects. So this real-time interaction is key.
No, that I understand. And I was talking to someone today about metaverse because leading up to this episode, and so does that mean that we will be living or we will be shopping, as I saw, in an alternative reality where I can actually go physically or virtually take or touch stuff? How is it going to work? Give us some more details about it, man.
No, I agree with that. In that we've seen also the development of haptic gloves, where you can actually feel and touch things. And although it isn't quite the identical sensation as touching a real world object, it's giving you that feeling of, in the virtual world, of, you could shake a hand, you could reach out and touch an object. So certainly, as you pointed out, retail will be further disrupted. E-commerce already and mobile commerce already had a very big impact in the retail sector. Now, in a practical example, you could be sitting, whether in Sydney, somewhere in Switzerland, Geneva, New York, wherever, and be engaging with a retail store, a virtual retail store, that could actually physically be based in Hong Kong or Dubai or London, as the case may be. So you can actually go in and see what's going on with fashion trends around the world, see the items in 3D virtually, and actually engage with them and even make a purchase. So yes, it's going to be, gaming has been a big theme right now, but it does go way beyond gaming, as your video showed, whether it be retail and even our working space, whereby we'll be able to engage in real-time holographic or 3D rendered meetings. And you could use neural translation from AI to make language as a barrier go away. So I could be speaking in English and the other person could be hearing me in Japanese or Mandarin, and vice versa. So it's a really exciting new wave of technology that we're going to get that will touch every sector of the economy.
Good stuff. Utpal, what's your point of view? What is metaverse for you? You're on mute, it seems, Meg.
Yeah. So I think Imtiaz and Malta has already given a very good definition of metaverse, and yes, I'm completely agree with them. But beyond that, what I think is probably it is going to be the biggest virtual marketplace, okay, wherein people will actually do buying, selling, trading, and all other things. Okay, so that is something very very interesting that I can see, and this has already been started. Okay, so and uh, and also the collaboration part. Okay, so one part is definitely um, going into metaverse and doing a lot of things, but also the collaboration that you can do. Because normally, if you look at on a conceptual level, normally we want to be there at multiple places, right, at the same time. Okay, so probably I want to see a cricket match at the same time. Probably I want to go to a party. Okay,
Mhm.
so and do something else. Okay, go for a golf or go for a walk or something like that. But I physically, if you our physical limitations are like we can be at one place at one point of time, right? Now the concept of this digital twin, okay, when it is coming, so actually my avatar or my twin can be there at multiple places, and I can actually do a lot of things at the same time. So that's another angle, and which is actually picking up here. So I think these are two very important things, and that's why I'm also excited, because I'm also learning. Okay, so till now I was thinking like AI is very very exciting, but today I can see like, oh, metaverse is much more interesting, probably because it is an amalgamation of a lot of things. So yeah, right.
Good stuff. Thank you. Martha, anything else comes to mind or should I move on to the next question? Because I've just done the circle.
Yeah, no, I think it's what is very, very important. We talked about shopping, but the one thing which is very close to our heart, you can say, because it's a fundamental need, is this need of community. And we
Yep.
have been very tired of the times in the last 2 years where we cannot connect really with each other, where we cannot have the experience with each other. And I believe, and that's already what a lot of people do when they do the gaming, you connect and you have experiences together. So it's not so much about the shopping and it's not so much about the playing and buying NFTs, but it's more about the collaboration that you mentioned. So it could be connecting as a creator, but also connecting and creating a completely new society. So the angle of, let's say, that we even maybe don't need governments or this structure we have today, because all the tools we have to be decentralized, all the what is now called DAO communities can govern itself, and we can create communities ourselves. And we have seen that with the starting point with Clubhouse, which took off like a rocket. We want to be in virtual spaces. We want to connect with each other. We want to wander around and talk to others, explore, have this experience. Same with house parties. So these were all the beginnings, I would say.
Good stuff. I can see that there are around about 50 people watching us at the moment. Guys, please, 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 I know you're trying to absorb it. It's new concept, new tech. If you've got a question, please don't shy away. Put that in the comment section, and I'll take that question in the audience Q&A section. Okay, I'll turn to Utpal. Utpal, how is it going to impact the economy? What is your thought around that? Because, of course, it's a new environment. It is new place. The way we were shopping earlier, the way we were behaving earlier, interacting earlier, will be different. How is it going to impact the economy as you go forward? And I have a good idea that I've just thought of while Martha was saying, and I'll talk about it later. But Utpal, what do you think?
Yeah, so Shailendra, yeah, thank you for this question, and probably I am also looking for a right answer for this question. But my view is basically, so already if you think of India only, okay, so already people have invested a lot into the digital assets, right?
Yep.
And till now there was a ambiguity, at least in India, like whether it is correct or legally it is correct, or am I doing a crime, okay, or kind of thing. So it was the case. But recently, in the union budget that has been declared very recently, so government has come up with a very clear-cut what do you call definition and very clear-cut stand on that. That yes, you can hold your digital asset, okay, but whenever you are going to do any kind of transaction, okay, then you will have to pay the tax, which is quite. it is quite good, I think. And in that way, because today, if you look at I mean, governments probably in most of the countries, okay, they don't have any clue about who is holding how much digital asset, right?
Yep.
Because it is not going through any kind of banks or any kind of conventional financial systems, right? So it's a completely different kind of a thing. So now with this kind of a transparency, okay, like you hold digital assets, there is no harm to it. But the thing is that whenever you are doing transaction, you pay as the tax. In that way, they will also come to know how the citizens are actually holding different digital assets. So, which is a big change I can see that is going to bring in the Indian economy, okay, going forward. Because there are many implications of that. Second thing, regarding the digital currency also, because these are all interlinked, so I'll touch upon that also. So till now, I mean, again, that there was a ambiguity, right? Like any kind of transactions with any kind of crypto or kind of thing. So now India government has declared that they will build a digital currency under the purview of RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank in India, and all other financial systems are governed by them. So, which is a big step. So, government has already understood that this is going to be the future, okay? Because you cannot stop this digital currency. And I suspect, so a time will come when digital currency is going to give a huge competition to the conventional currency that we have, right? So in that way, and this is completely transparent, because you are, whatever your digital currency you are building on a distributed ledger kind of a thing, which is completely decentralized kind of thing. So altogether, if you look at all those angles, and also metaverse, okay, because metaverse is also part of that. So I think it is going to give a complete boost to the economy of many of the countries. And you can see the examples of South Korea and all, because their governments are basically advocating about metaverse, about combining different metaverses into one metaverse and governed by the government union. I forgot the term what they have used. So it is already happening. So to answer your question, yes, it is going to give a big boost to many of the economies going forward. Yes.
Good stuff. What is your thought on this, Imtiaz?
So thank you. I'd expand on the concept of the digital twin and this virtuality. Think of it this way. Imagine, for example, when you go for right now, if somebody's looking for a job and you're sending a CV, it's all static, it's not interactive. And does the CV really tell you much about the person? I think in this metaverse concept, for example, in this world or era of the metaverse, your digital twin will be there, and it will actually, people can come and talk to it and engage with it, right? Even if you're busy somewhere else at work or doing something, it can tell that person about you, about yourself, your skills, your background, what you're doing, what your aspirations are. And then somebody could go, yeah, actually, I'd like to really, I want to follow up with an actual meeting with this person and perhaps consider bringing them in. So it's going to be a world where things are very interactive. This static world is going away. Imagine a financial spreadsheet again. If you're looking at PowerPoint or Excel, but especially in PowerPoint, it's just a presentation. You don't really know what's driven that number. In year 4 of this 5-year forecast, you see a big pickup in the revenue in a startup projection or whatever. You'll be actually able to, in your 3D one, touch it, and an AI agent, Metaverse agent, will be able to explain it to you, saying, well, actually, we've made this assumption because we see revenue, or we assume acquiring 10 customers and the overall market size has doubled. That it starts to become interactive in ways that the current world is not, that the current digital world is not, I should say. So this interactivity and this real time, and the keyword is real time, connectivity and interaction is going to transform in ways we can't even imagine yet. It's literally going to change everything far more than the current internet that we have. Because right now, okay, we're here on screen talking to each other, but in future, a lot of the time it's going to be that you can see 3D versions of us. The audience will be able to walk around us and our 3D versions and get a sense that we're actually genuine, that they're actually really engaging with us dynamically. So it's really going to change things in ways that you can't believe.
Now, you've actually nailed it. And Before I get to Martha, I'll give you. I wrote an article around about 4 years ago, and I was talking about how with meta. We didn't know about metaverse at the time. How with the advent of 5G and AI, how doctors would be able to perform surgery. They're sitting in the US, and there is a patient in India, possibly, and needs urgent surgery. So the doctor can do that in a visual environment where he can be on the television screen and guide someone on the other side of the screen. But now this is, as Imtiaz said, this could actually turn it around where the doctor can physically go and have a look into it and physically advise that this is wrong, this is right, whatever it is, and cure someone up or perform a surgery. In other words, I think that's very exciting. It just came to my mind that I've just taken my article, which I wrote 4 years ago, after what I heard from Imtiaz and what I saw today. I think it is taken to the next level. What do you think, Martha, about this? And before you answer that question, the other one is around, you've spent a lot of time in financial services. How do you see that all coming together and the economy? Because India, Australia, US, UK, and Switzerland, they're all somehow connected. And will that make that currency, as Utpal said, that the physical currency disappear after a while? What do you think?
Yeah, all big questions. I think the first one is a very amazing one. The article you have written 4 years ago is actually already something in healthcare which people are working on. So the idea of having a specialist doctor with you in a room, even though he is not with you in a room, is already there. And also the augmented reality for operations is already also being developed or in test practice. So that's a first big question. And I think what we haven't talked about today here, and we might not have time to, is healthcare, how it affects healthcare and all kind of different features. And as you say, my time was spent in financial services. So again, there, Metaverse will be a complete game changer for financial services. And we have seen parts or glimpses of this already. So one is certainly the experience of customers. That's the easy one, which we will see in the next 2-3 years. So Utpal, you had mentioned South Korea. South Korea has been very strong in developing Metaverse City. It has also been very strong in the banking sector. There are a lot of banks already having their branches in the metaverse so that also clients can come and visit it. In Europe, we have been for ages discussing, do we need branches? People still need branches, it's so expensive. All this will go away because basically I can go to a virtual branch. And there's already a bank also in South Korea, they are far advanced, who has a kind of kiosk. So people can come and a virtual person explains to them, and not yet investment advice, but this is trained with AI. And that's where also all the technology comes together. So that's more from an experience point of view, which is very, very imminent. And then, as you said, there is another feature in banking is, do we still need banks at all? Yeah. So if we have DeFi, there is no intermediary necessary. Nevertheless, also there are ventures into the metaverse which call themselves banks. Yeah. So there are transactions between people necessary. As we know, there are still conversions from metaverse currency, you can say, into fiat currency, like also we have seen in Axie, so where people in the Philippines earn their living with the metaverse, with the gaming of Axie. So there are a lot of interaction, and it's absolutely mind-blowing on the one hand, but I think banks have to be very, very busy with the metaverse, first because of the experience is changing, but secondly also what's the business model. And we have already seen that with platform and ecosystems that banks have to think about. It's no longer, as I said in one of my articles, to be or not to be a platform. That's no longer the question. So the same will be true for the metaverse. To be or not to be part of the metaverse is not a question for banks, because everything in the entire society is changing. And if we look at Web3, if we look at DeFi, if we look at crypto, these are also questions clients have. So it's not good enough for wealth managers to say we don't deal with crypto. also a lot of banks have changed now and thinking about, we don't want to touch crypto, but nevertheless, you have to have something which, in terms of digital assets, which is also from an investment point of view, NFTs. Yeah, can you be someone who refuses to do NFTs as a bank? Question mark. So I don't have the answers to those questions, but as I said, will be complete game changer in all different features.
No, that's absolutely amazing, and I'm actually learning as we go, and all of us are as we speak. The world is going to just become very different world, I think. And I was having a chat offline with Imtiaz, I think a couple of last week, and we said, as much as we think this may take a couple of years, I think it is coming sooner than later, and very soon we will have a very different world where we will have so many things that could be done to us in a virtual reality, and things will become easy. But the other question that comes to mind is, with all of this, will the network be able to uphold it? The networks are different. The is there 5G everywhere? Is there fiber optics everywhere? All that network is available or not? And that's a challenge. But governments actually need to think about this, because this is going to be a absolutely game changer. Anyways, let me get to the next component, and let me talk about personalization. So I spent good 8 years doing personalization, 8 9 years doing personalization, and using statistical modeling during and people talk to me about privacy that time, and even today, and I said privacy doesn't exist. We are now getting into metaverse, and it creates hyper personalization now, where everything about you is known, every moment, every movement is known to your business, and it's about what you do with it. So, Imtiaz, what do you think about hyper personalization, and how that is going to be change that is going to change in the coming years using metaverse environment?
Absolutely. I think that's a key point, that everything becomes even more personalized, as you say, and individualized towards yourself, your by the metaverse, your metadata, in effect, and the metadata of the world around you. So, as people already say from the old days, for example, when a family be watching television and an advert would come on, or in a car where a shared space where an advert could be relevant to one person but not necessarily everyone, and people would just accept it, to the era of smartphone mobile, where if an ad pops up on your device, if it's not fully relevant to you, you feel it's spam, that it's invading your personal space. And again, in the metaverse, things are going to be very personalized around you, where you want to go, what you want to explore, etc. And so, yes, the role of AI, machine learning, deep neural networks will be essential, with multimodal transformers, where both vision and language will kind of merge, multitasking, multimodal, synthetic data, etc., to really hyper-personalize your experience. In terms of the governance side and data privacy, for example, right now, Apple is applying a lot of federated learning with differential privacy, which is a machine learning technique which allows learning at the device level and collaborative learning across the global level without removing your personalized data. And I think that is going to be essential going forwards in something like the metaverse, because you don't want Mr. Zuckerberg, for instance, just seeing everything you're doing through his glasses and collecting it, data harvesting. But on the other hand, you want personalized experience, so you do want the machine learning, but at the same time, a way that the machine learning can operate at the local level and personalize the experience without harvesting all your data to a centralized server.
Interesting. What do you think about that, Martha? Hyper personalization. How is that going to change in the coming days and weeks and months?
I think it will completely change. And obviously, again, to what you asked before about the banks, we have seen that banks are starting to also getting into more hyper personalization, similar to what Netflix does in terms of, for example, with the content not being very personalized only, but also learning what customers really want. So banks have adapted or starting to adopt this Netflix thought, in the sense that also they are trying to understand what the customer really wants before they produce basically all the investment thesis and so on and so forth. So it's no longer only based on the market research. But I think you both had a very important topic that's about privacy and private data. We haven't really solved this on the internet. We haven't solved also if children misuse of children's data, and so on and so forth. So we cannot expect that all of a sudden with the metaverse, all of this will be solved, and it won't be solved by governments, because also what we see is that governments are trying to keep up. But if the society and everything is changing so quickly, then we can also not expect government to keep up with this. So there is a certain level of, we have to think about ourselves on one hand, a little bit like a paradoxon, because we, on one hand, we love to have everything easy for us. So we don't think about using this and that, and it comes to us. So we want the Netflix experience. We want Amazon to show us all this. And on the other hand, and if we are asked to, you like Imtiaz described it, we don't want Facebook to have all our data. So there's a really fine line to strike also as a customer. I mean, the customer has a lot of power. You can say yes and no, and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, I do think we need something which is part where we have part of the industry, we have part of the government, we have part of different organizations, also organizations who make it as their objective to protect people, and have this developing rules and ethics for the metaverse similar to what we should have for the internet, which we don't have right now.
No, I totally agree with you. What do you think, Utpal? But before you do that, guys, audience, are you liking this? If you're liking this, please press the like button. I want more and more people to learn from these three great speakers, and they have the kind of knowledge they have and they bring to the table. I would like everyone to learn from them. So please, please, please press the thumbs up or heart or whatever it is, wherever you're watching. And if you're watching on, and today we've gone live on, I think, 5 or 6 different platforms. So wherever you are, just press the follow button and press the like button so that more and more people learn from it. And also, if you've got a question, if you're observing it now and you've absorbed it and you think that you want a question to ask, don't shy away. Put that in the comment section. I will take that very, very soon in the audience Q&A section. Utpal, your turn to tell us about hyper-personalization and how that is differentiated in India, because India is a different, I call it a different world, because no laws used to be there at once upon a time, but now it's a different, now things are improving. So what do you think?
Yeah, so Shailendra, I think you are kind of a personalization and hyper personalization guru, because you have done a lot of work and you have spent a lot of time there. So we need to look at the difference. Like traditionally, for any kind of personalization, probably at max we're looking at 200 parameters, right? Or 200 data points at max. And that I don't think so. In banks, they are not looking at those many parameters. So couple of couple of demographic parameters, couple of parameters from your financial this thing, and couple of transactional parameters will give you some level of personalization, or what we call hyper personalization. But when it comes to metaverse, now you are wearing a jacket, right? So, and your jacket is like full of sensors and all other things there. So probably here, the parameters that you need to, I mean, the data points that you are getting is in thousands, right? A couple of thousands. So here, I think the personalization that can be done will be much more accurate than what we used to do till now, probably in banking and other things. And that too, I think no bank across the globe has gone into a level of an individual, like in case of personalization, right? So still we do customer segmentation, right? So probably up to 100 customers we do personalization, not to the individual. Like for me, what is my requirement? What kind of things what kind of products and services will suit to my need? Okay, so that level we have not yet gone. But I think this is an amazing opportunity that is coming up in metaverse, because when you get some thousand parameters of an individual, of his each movement, each thing, okay, I think you can do a brilliant personalization. And I think the hyper personalization intrusions will come in the metaverse only. Okay, so that's what I can see.
No, I totally
And
agree with you on that.
right. Now coming to the other point, the privacy. So now we have to make the trade-off, right? So at one this thing, you want that your personal assistants or your virtual assistant to guide you, to know your preferences and all those things. And on the other hand, you don't want to share any private data to him or her. Okay, so that will have to make a trade-off. Until and unless it is a very, very critical kind of information, I think we should be able to share that data to get that kind of a personalization. If you don't share your data, then definitely your personalization will not work. So I think we need to draw that line. Okay, which data can be shared, which data cannot be shared. And I think there is a lot of work still need to be done in this area. That's what I feel.
No, I have been fighting this battle for now 15 years around how to actually use data. And the problem I see is that a lot of people think that selling data uh, is a way of making money, and that is the worst way to actually utilize data. And um, and that is where you breach your privacy. You should be actually understanding what's going on to actually utilize that. But most of the people think, and still in India, I think, because I talk to a lot of people in India and I understand that, oh, I'm doing a lot of analytics and I'm doing a lot of AI. What am I doing? I'm selling data. So I need to, and that's where, and when it comes to hyper personalization, as you rightly said, the number of data points will significantly grow. So the data which, or the database which was long will become wider as we go, and that will make it so interesting to understand things. I remember when I was doing my personalization, some of my personalization projects, I used to say, even if I divided, took the all the alphabets of your name, I could use that as personalization as well, because someone's name starts with A, maybe doing something very different to someone's name starting with having a middle character E. I'm just making it up. Uh, that could make a huge difference. But the power wasn't there. And now that as we're getting the grunt in the machines, I think that could be a game changer. Imtiaz, do you want to add something?
Yes, so I just want to make two quick observations. First of all, on the personalization side, on the fly is key, real time, right?
Mhm.
And that's why a lot of machine learning will be essential, because now you're getting real time interactions. If someone's moving around time and space, they're interacting with things. So that real time environment has to be hyper personalized. And we talk about big data today and in the current era. And yeah, IDC Seagate, for example, forecast that by 2025, will be generating 175 zettabytes of data, and one-third of that consumed in real time. Now, what does that actually mean in context? Well, that is pretty much the entirety of data, one-third of that 175, that we generated in all of 2019 or 2020 will be real-time data, right? So it's going to be on the fly, real-time engagement, ultra-low latency for this hyper-personalization. The other thing on the data privacy, I think we must stress again, but as I said before, federated learning with differential privacy. Apple use it. The problem right now, again, with the metaverse is meant to be an interoperable world, right? Where things are connecting together. The problem with that federated learning has right now is this interoperability. So Apple has its system which works on iOS devices. Google have their own federated learning version or simulation of it, which works on their devices. But when you're connecting up, there's no single version or getting a single version that could scale everywhere. There is some research work by university that is called Flower. They claim could be, scale across everything and be interoperable, because federated learning differential privacy is the key solution here, so that you can still have machine learning on the local level, which then goes and creates a collaborative global model that isn't harvesting your data, but still allowing that personalization. And what we need as industry to get together and work together for it. Now, it doesn't seem like perhaps Facebook or Meta, as it's called, perhaps haven't seen as much enthusiasm. Maybe I've missed it for that, but certainly Apple and Google and others out there have mentioned it. So I think that is something the industry really needs to push, and maybe governments and regulators, as you say, they're always behind, but to say federated learning with differential privacy is an essential for this era.
Good stuff. Guys, audience, are you liking it? Calls for a thumbs up. And also, please don't forget, if you've got a question, put that in the comment section. Startups. Metaverse is new. So that would mean a lot of startups trying to get into this space. I will start with Martha. Martha, have you seen any startups that have actually started working in the metaverse space? And what are the areas where people are really focusing on in the startup business vis-a-vis metaverse?
Yeah, so as you say, the universe of startups in the metaverse is as unlimited as the metaverse possibilities itself. So from a financial and banking point of view, I think there are some interesting startups. One is called Aave, and they are giving sort of loans, and it's all related to NFTs and so on and so forth. So it's a completely different model than banks have today. And I find this is very exciting. There's another startup which is more on the DAO creation, collaboration. These kind of startups I think are very, very interesting because, as I said, it's fundamental research has shown that we don't care so much about food and water, but we care about other human beings. Yeah? So that seems to be genetic, which is very promising also for us from an ethical point of view. So I would look at those startups. Obviously, there are a lot like OpenSeas who are more into the marketplaces. They could be very interesting, but they are also already very, very advanced. So I think valuation is at 13 billion. So you might want to look at the smaller ones. And if I look at it from a, let's say, banking point of view, I think it makes sense also to look at startups who provide experiences, agency who provide experiences, and not only banking, but if you're in the shopping space. So investing is one thing. I'm, however, also a big fan of collaboration, partnerships, like you have seen also with the big brands like Balenciaga. They are teaming up with Nike is in Roblox. Nike also bought this virtual sneaker firm. So there are a lot of things happening where businesses have to think about what is it, what makes it better for my customers, and not only better, but what creates value. That's why I wouldn't say there's one startup fitting it all, but by businesses, and we have seen it quite a lot with Adidas and Bored Apes, as I said, Nike, and where they are as well. So they are testing different places. So Decentraland is also a big place. You have shown it at the beginning, real estate where people are investing in. I find this very interesting also from a society point of view. The question was at the beginning, what will change for banks? So let's assume you have, apart from the branch public, you have a really big portfolio of mortgages and housing. People really buy a lot of houses that we have in Switzerland. We have 1 trillion Swiss franc market, which no one can believe here for houses. We are 9 million people. Yeah. So what will change? So if I can buy a space in the center, can do my beautiful there, and I'm sitting in a small space here, but I can expand this. Switzerland has a lot of scarcity. You have a totally different possibility, and you also can change society. So from that point of view, I do think it's important that businesses look at what is creating the most value for customers.
You were breaking up, Martha, for some reason. I will quickly go to Utpal in the meantime. Utpal, and we try to fix up your sound. Utpal, what do you think? What's your point of view on how startups are growing in this space? Have you seen any startup in the metaverse area?
So I think it is still a little bit new concept in India, but I think once through your program, people comes to know I think there will be hundreds of startups coming up in this area. Okay, so still because it is even new for me. Okay, so I have only started digging it out a couple of months back. But see, Indian startups are brilliant startups, as you know. And very recently, there is a good news. There is a startup called Xeonverse. Okay, they have launched their metaverse, and they have also launched a NFT called Lakshmi. Okay, so for the audience, Lakshmi is something in India. It is a goddess of wealth. Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, so they have created that NFT, and already people have started investing on that metaverse. So, and they are also working on things like bringing uh, Indian mythology, okay, into that metaverse, and you can actually see, you can do. So they have come up with couple of many of the games also, and I think they have started selling virtual plots now. So I will have to explore that. So that is one area. But Shailendra, as you said rightly, because once these things are, because India is a little bit behind in terms of, I mean, when the concept comes, but once it comes, look, people picks up like anything. Like today, if you look at the AI startups, so it is like India is flooded with AI startups. Okay? So people are doing a lot of, and even fintechs. So the same thing is going to happen in case of metaverse also, because I think still the academia, the incubation centers of our big universities and IITs and IIMs, they are not much aware of metaverse, or probably they are not. They have just started learning it. But once it comes, definitely come, and that we can see in this particular area. So so I am expecting that yes, definitely the startups are going to play a major role in the development and adoption of metaverse into the common mass, because there are a couple of reasons behind that. So number one, metaverse will require a lot of developer community collaboration. Okay,
Yep.
so once you build the metaverse, it is not the end of the story. So
Mhm.
you require enough this developer community, okay, to contribute into your metaverse. Okay, so and here you require gaming developers. You require developers who can build this immersive experience, because this is the interactive environment, right? So that is very very important. And also at the same time, there should be a venture capital system, okay, which should support this kind of metaverse or metaverses or this kind of developments. Okay. And I think once this concept gets popular, I'm pretty sure at least in India, there will be a lot many startups, they will be working on that. So that's what I can see, Shelan.
Good stuff. Imtiaz, startups and metaverse. That's one of your favorite subjects, isn't it? So um, enlighten us.
Step back and we think of the current world and the unicorns, etc., and big startups, the tech giants. Many of those were born in the era of internet, and in particular 4G, and 4G enabled the arrival of many applications that we use, whether in fintech and banking or e-commerce, etc. So now we have the advent of standalone 5G, not just 5G, but non-standalone, but standalone, and the arrival of the metaverse allied to that or enabled by that is going to see a different order of magnitude of new startups emerging. And it's across the spectrum. So you have whether it's software engines, products like virtual worlds, companies such as Crucible, Survivors. You've got avatar companies, Genies, Naver, etc. Asset creation, Occital, Cesium. Asset marketplaces such as Pixura and SuperRare. Hardware interfaces, virtual reality, AR, haptic tech, mixed reality, things like Rocket, etc. And then displays, Cyvision and many others as examples. And then, as we mentioned, as Martin mentioned, financial services. There's so many, these are just a few examples. And then, we don't know if the next Google or whatever, for this transit a few years down the line or by the end of this decade. But certainly the scene is going to change dramatically. And perhaps even some of the current disruptors will get disrupted themselves over the next few years. So it's a pace of very, very rapid change, exciting innovation, and services and products that we can only dream of today, or perhaps at the limit of our imagination.
So, Imtiaz, I will go to your 7 layers of metaverse that you released last week. And we've talked about experience, and we've talked about the creator economy as Utpal said, that there'll be a lot of startups who will start doing coding and in that space. Let's talk about the tech, the decentralization of the tech as it comes. So when you talk of edge computing or blockchain or microservices, which is very very decentralized, are we geared up for that kind of tech at the moment? And if and are large corporates, so large organizations like of course, we know that Facebook and the new metaverse, Meta and Microsoft have invested heavily, but what about others? Are they also getting onto the journey? Imtiaz?
So I don't know if you're in. Yes, I fully agree with you. These are great points that you've raised, which is what's the vision is very exciting. Having the technical capability is going to be essential. And we already see we've seen over the years shortages of data machine learning engineers, although that's starting to, we see a bit more supply coming through, but then say 3 or 4 years ago. But blockchain, there's been a shortage of Solidity developers, etc., NFTs, and I think there'll be the same with the Unity and Unreal Engine. That's going to code a lot of the graphics, if you like, or the underlying code for the metaverse itself will often be Unity 3D or Unreal Engine, as the case may be. And so all these skills are going to be essential. Edge computing, as you mentioned, will be key because hardware manufacturers, and indeed combined with software, are going to have to think of things like neural compression and making lightweight devices. So you don't want to be walking around with a 1 kg device on your head all the time. You'll feel the strain. So lightweight, compressing things, etc. So a lot of engineering. But then at the wider society level, this means that also in terms of the experienced workforce and indeed the young, we need to have a big rethink of both digital skill sets and retraining, and also for the young people to be given skills that are going to be relevant for this new world rather than the old world. So it touches both at the technical level in terms of making sure that we have pathways and supply, as we've seen at the end of in the real world, supply shocks and supply chains, as we had COVID shutdowns and reopenings, etc. But also this can apply to the virtual world, where people are going to scrum around to try and find this limited pool of developers, because right now a lot of people are working on things like React and standard servers, etc., that are geared to this current world or the old world, in what it will soon become. And in actual fact, we're going to need people with these skills for this new world of coding things that are relevant to the infrastructure of the metaverse. So making sure there's sufficient investment, training, etc., is going to be key. And companies need to view this as an investment in their own survival. Those that do will be able to avail these opportunities. Those that don't, well, they'll become increasingly irrelevant. And I'll give one more example. I remember my business school professor studied at Stanford strategy, and he gave the example when the calculator came. And before then, in the old days, they were using the slide rules. The slide rules have dominated for 400, 500 years, hundreds of years. And the slide rule manufacturers only looked through the lenses at each other as competitors. And they were just saying, who's making bronze finish, who's making chrome finish, I'm going to do that too. And I didn't see on the edge of the glass, the Japanese brought out the calculator. They didn't view it as a competitor. They were like, oh, what's that? I've got a 300-400 year history. I've got a bronze finish. Who wants this funny digital device that's here on the edge? And within a few years, the slide rule they're all gone. They're all gone. And I believe it'll be something with the metaverse.
Now, I've got a story around that, but that's for another day. Martham, you have been working around this space. Let's put a VC's hat. What's there for VCs? Do you see a lot of traction from VCs in investing in the metaverse startups? Do you see that a lot? And if yes, what's in it for VCs? Do they see a lot of energy out there?
Absolutely. Very, very high energy. And one of the most famous one is Andreessen Horowitz, as a lot of people maybe on this call also know. He spends hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions in the tech underlying really the metaverse, and in particular Web3. And it got to a point, maybe you have followed that also, Shelley, on Twitter, where Jack Dorsey basically said that the metaverse is not, or the Web3, which is not the same, but Web3 technology is not owned by creators, as we all wish for, and DeFi and so on and so forth, is actually owned by the VCs. And after that, on the Twitter, Andres Horowitz, basically the VC investor cut him off any conversation at Twitter. So you see, there is a very, very big interest, and that's not surprising, because from everything we have learned today, if, also Imtiaz has said, which is common, that the metaverse is the next evolution of the internet. So it's clear that you want to somehow also invest in that technology. And it's not like you have, you asked also before, you push a button and then it's there. It's all the pieces of the puzzle coming together. It's all connected with each other. So we see a lot of activity in the VC space, and in particular in the what you call the underlying technology. If we think about the famous John Radoff's 7 layers of the metaverse, it's not the 7 sins, but it's the 7 layers. It's a great chart where you can basically also imagine what's happening. So, and Utpal also mentioned more startups. So there are who are the investors in the startups. They are not family and friends. They are all the VCs, because they see this market opportunity. And Goldman Sachs has sized the market opportunity. In total, they say it's an 8 trillion market. Yeah.
8 trillion
8
market.
trillion. Yeah. So you have a little bit of imagination. So when you also look at just decentral land, yeah. So decentral land, Sandbox, Uptown, all of the stuff which is in the real estate, that opportunity has been sized 600 billion to 1 trillion. So all the different pieces, if you put them together, is something we cannot imagine. And you also mentioned how fast will it come. There's also from neuroscience one weakness we have: we can only think linear, we cannot think exponential. Yeah. And in the past, we have always been proven wrong, that the things are happening much faster than we ever imagined. So lots of activity in the space.
So which are the top, if you were to name top 5 VCs who are really investing in metaverse? Which one are those?
I would say that the one of the top is really Andreessen Horowitz. I would lean to. They have even provided a full report of what they are invested in. So it's exactly the technologies I mentioned. And then you have a couple of asset managers. One asset manager, I think, which stacks out also in terms of being in big ideas, new technology, is ARC. So even though they also got, as always, got some pressure end of the year, beginning of the year, because some of the stuff in the portfolio get devaluated. But I think that's normal when you are in that space. You have this ups and downs. But ARC for me also is really great in this. And they had recently a very good report, which is called Big New Ideas 2022, where they have also all the different technologies, even genetic also. And we can maybe not imagine right now how genetic technology and even what has been developed for vaccination and so on can play a role in metaverse. But there's a lot of possibilities how this all gets interconnected, because we should stop thinking about this is another virtual world we go into. It will completely, as also Imtiaz said, immerse with what we already have. And you showed it at the beginning in the video, just you had this architect building his house. So if you think about it also, what you can do, what you also mentioned, healthcare, where doctors are next to another doctor operating together. And all this, if we take all of this, then I would say, in the word of Peter Diamandis, whom you maybe know, he's the CEO of X Prize, he always says there's this world of abundance. Yeah? And the world of abundance means it's a world of possibilities. It doesn't mean that everyone is living in luxury.
No, you're absolutely right. And I was talking to someone last night from Switzerland, and we were talking about how the world is going to change in the next 5 to 10 years. And yeah, this is the world of possibilities, and everything is happening out there. I'll come to Utpal. You've been quiet, Utpal. So, what do you think? VCs are doing in this space. I know India is quiet in Metaverse because it's new, and hopefully people will learn from this episode and get onto the bandwagon. But what are you seeing there?
Yeah, so Shailendra, if you allow me, I'll try to answer your last question also. The
Mhm.
technology part or the skill part, or what kind of people is required, or whether those people are there in the market or not. So, like more I'm thinking of metaverse and discussing and listening to you guys, I can imagine the magnanimity or the versatility of this particular area, right? And here I think it is not only technology. There will be a lot of domain people required. Okay, to actually bring that kind of a what do you call business world inside that virtual reality. So see, at one side you can see it is kind of a digital reflection of our physical life, right? So this is at one side, but on the business world side, if you look at, then if you actually want to give the products, services, and all other things of a particular business, then you require a blend of basically domain experts, technology people, and a lot of people into that. And in that way, I see it's as a journey, right? Because I mean, if you want to bring that kind of experience, it is not. At one go you can bring that kind of experience, right? So and for that, definitely would require a lot of this game development people who can bring that experience. That a lot of people who will be working on actually architecting those kind of metaverse. So that is architects are also playing a major role. I think can play a major role. So that is there. So and also the domain experts. So now, if you want to build any kind of banking things and banking services, you also require a lot of domain people to be involved there and bring it. How to bring it into this virtual kind of environment. And now to come to your question, like the VCs and all those things. So I think here in India, what I can see is uh, once the startups they start building some kind of concepts, some kind of POCs, or
Mhm.
probably some kind of pilots or some good concepts in a paper. I think VCs will be ready to invest those, and they should be okay because there is a huge opportunity, and this is a wave that is coming, and you cannot stop it. Okay, you like it or you don't like it, and I think people should like it. Okay, so and VCs here, I think I see it, they are open enough. I mean, if they see that opportunity, they are going to invest. But right now, I don't know if there are any VCs. But what I've heard is this particular metaverse has already been. I mean, what I talked about the Xeon Vars in India. So they have already been funded. Okay, so I think that indicates that already VCs are interested and they're doing it.
Good stuff. Imtiaz, what do you think? What are VCs doing in your area? Have you seen in European side of things VCs jumping on the metaverse bandwagon?
I go back to what Marta said. So it's in particular, I think a lot of the Silicon Valley giants, the very famous VCs, the front runners, and these are the firms like who were often the early investors in things like Facebook, etc. And I think they've been through it before. They've seen what happened when the internet arrived, when mobile arrived, smart mobile that is. And I think they see the size of the opportunity here, which Marta gave some figures. You gave some figures too, Shailendra. It's an astronomical opportunity. So I think the VCs know this is the future. Not only that in actual fact, if you're a new startup today that is building for the current world, the current environment, your longevity, if you're looking at this 5 to 10 year payout period, is probably going to become somewhat challenging if there's this dramatic shift towards the metaverse, which is what we're talking about perhaps over the next 2 to 3 years in particular. If a lot of the traffic switches there, then a new platform that's launched today probably is not going to be viable within a few years. So it's not only the legacy companies, but even the new startups or recent startups that came out in the last few years, which are going to have a rethink in their approach. So it's something that's really that fundamental. And I think going back to the point about the technology stack very briefly, and that is actually the metaverse brings a lot of the leading technologies, and I think together under one umbrella or one space. I think that's something, Shailendra, that you were mentioning, and Dave Mata talked about this, the John Radoff, famous John Radoff diagram. And again, I think Utpal was referencing, which is that you can have blockchain, NFTs, AI agents, state-of-the-art artificial intelligence agents that can deal with multimodal, both language and vision together, which is really advanced AI, all in one space, as alongside the edge, etc. So it's really bringing all these technologies and 3D computer vision all into one space. So it's really all these advanced technologies that are out there coming together to really revolutionize the customer experience, the interaction, the user experience. And so again, it's really going to be a great opportunity for investors going forwards.
Good stuff. Okay, audience, you liking this? It calls for a like. And also, if you are watching wherever, just press the follow button. I'm jumping onto the audience Q&A section. So give me a second and we will go audience Q&A. In the meantime, if you've got a question, put that in the comment section. I'll take it now. And having said that, in the meantime, just press the like button and I will be here in a second. Ooh, I just opened the Q&A questions and they're huge. So this is popular, right? I would say. Okay, let me very, very quickly run to questions. I'm ignoring the highs and where you're coming from for a minute, just so we don't run over time. Okay. Here we go. The first question hits. First question is here. It says, it's from Ahsan Ali, says, will Clubhouse change in any shape or form with Metaverse? Martha, you mentioned Clubhouse, so I will throw it at you.
Yeah, I think as I mentioned, or Clubhouse was the beginning or one of the steps into the metaverse, I would say. So Clubhouse itself as a company, it's difficult to say because they have already quite a lot of other things they do. So they, as a typical platform, for example, have a partnership with Stripe, a payment platform for payments on it. They also got quite some competition now because the idea was so much resonating that some of you maybe have seen also on Twitter, you have Space. So there are a lot of competitors who have started copying, or also other people who have started to get into this idea. So I would see Clubhouse more as the idea of the experience and as what it does, rather than Clubhouse, the company itself. It just gives us hints on where we are leading, because every one of us somehow enjoyed Clubhouse, even though in Europe it has not as much taken off, and it's now a bit on the, and also in the US on the retraction, which some people have good reasons for. Yeah, so I think it's just a small step in a big thing.
Good stuff. Imtiaz, do you want to add to that, or Utpal?
I think Matt's covered that very well. I think pretty much all platforms are going to have to either adapt to being both visual and language based, so this 3D space, or pretty much the user may transition away from them. It's going to come down to the users. It may well be that pretty much all social media platforms today get displaced. Maybe, or like I said, they'll try and adapt their own platforms accordingly.
Okay. I'll get to the next comment. It's from Mario Pawlowski, and he says, nothing new. Okay. There is a LinkedIn user, the name didn't get through, but it says, it's immersive way of doing shopping or buying. Yes, you're right. Okay, a question. It comes from Fabian P. Lehner. Hi, Fabian, how are you doing? He says, where do you see banks in the metaverse and their role? Who wants to go? Martha?
Yeah, I think we have touched on this, and I know Fabian personally, so that's why. So he knows my passion also for platforms. So one is the experience we touched upon. So completely different experience when it comes to and some had already written in the comments, face to face. We know is no longer necessary, video, but just maybe also beyond avatars. Yeah. So we all now think about avatars, but that's not the only thing which will happen. So have a look at meta human. So where real human beings will be your client relationship manager. But what you can see already in the next two years, and what I've seen also in terms of user experience, is that you virtualize your portfolio. You can see, like you have seen in the video with the architect, how your portfolio develops, how it is, how it feels, and so on and so forth. From there, you can have a really much better banking experience. And then also what I mentioned, banking have to think about what will be their role in the metaverse, yeah? Because the role as we have it today, you have one central unit, like one bank providing the service is already you can say dematerialized by Amazon, because Amazon has all the payments. Amazon has buy now, pay later, similar to Shopify. So do you need a bank? Yeah. So there's this famous wording again, which says you do need banking, but you might not need banks. So if we translate that, you also in the metaverse, it's not banking per se, but as we are trading with each other, as we are exchanging currencies, and you mentioned also the central currency will change in cryptocurrencies and so on, that will completely change. But on the way to that, I think also banks have a huge opportunity for them to think about, how do I get into that space? Yeah, so how do I get into platforms is the first question, which they should have already answered. But the next question is really, how do I get into the next evolution of the platform? So there's no one fits all, but as a bank, I need to start thinking about the Web3, the crypto, the also the NFTs. In terms of investment, I need to think about the experience, and I need to more strategically think about where is my role in the future. Even though I'm a very prosperous, maybe incumbent right now, we have seen that many times with Nokia and then Apple and with Kodak and so on and so forth. There are all these famous stories. So you need to think about it now.
Good stuff. Imtiaz, do you want to add something to that, please?
Yeah, I think Matt, it's a nice summary there, but interactive is a key word, because dynamic, real-time interactive engagement rather than, as I said, static. So even today, a lot of the things on the internet are static in that you're just receiving. But here you'll have a virtual pop-up bank manager, maybe that could be an AI agent, and whilst the actual bank manager may be busy with something else. But you could have a pop-up manager enabled by AI that can explain products to you, so you know what you can ask them questions. They can converse with you to explain, and the bits they can't explain, they'll hand over to a human advisor. So at least it allows informed decision making dynamically. So you could show the flows of it in 3D of a bond, the cash flows, right? So you can clearly see it, and the redemption, etc., or a structured product, more complex things. You could see, as Marta said, the evolution of your portfolio real time, and the performance and the projections of different markets, etc., when you're making your decisions where you want to allocate your weights, as the case may be. Credit, real-time credit interaction, rather than right now it's historic. You're looking at a year before. Imagine when COVID came, the airline industry versus the digital industry had two very different experiences. So financials from a year ago suddenly weren't so relevant. So real-time credit analytics, the whole thing, the whole experience that you can engage dynamically and interactively with financial services will be a huge game changer.
Mm-hmm. You want to add anything to this, Utpal, or should I move on?
Yeah. So I mean, few things that came into my mind is, first of all, if you look at the entire thing, how it is changing. Okay, so the metaverse, the digital currency, and all other things. What I can see is the banks are going to transform. itself into a different kind of a model altogether. Because today, if you look at, any transaction you do within a country are going through one or the other bank, right? And now it is because of the economy, right? So because banks wants to govern the economy of the country, and government wants that kind of a thing. But going forward, I think banks are probably, I'm a little bit exaggerating, but banks will be like a retail shop, okay, with some products and services, right? So it is as good as a retail shop. They have got some products and some services, okay, and people. There is no mandate kind of a thing. People like it, they will buy it or they will avail it. People don't like it, they will not. They can do it through other means. Okay, so right now it is not happening because there is a complete mandate from all the central banks, and almost it applies to all the countries. So it is happening. But the world, is it the way it is moving? I think it is going to be some kind of that kind of a model. So that is one thing. And now coming to what Malta has said, and even Imtiaz has also touched upon, there are two things. Once we talk a lot about experience, right? The user experience part of it, but also on the utility side. Okay, so if we keep aside the only the experience aside, and if you think of the utility side, so in utility side also, metaverse is going to bring a lot of utility if banks comes into metaverse with their products and services. Okay, so actually there will be a lot of utility for the customers or the end users you can see. So that's what I can see. So it's a huge transformation, and more I think, and listening to these experts, right? So I'm getting amazed like how the entire things is transforming. These are transforming. Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
if I can maybe add one thing, yeah, because I think you made a very good point. What we can see already today is that you don't go to banks as a shop anymore. Like you have everything is embedded. So I would also assume that in what we already see in the metaverse. So if you are trading and having this transaction is part of your natural what you do. So if you go shopping, everything which we call banking services included in there, or insurance or any other services. So the metaverse is a platform and an ecosystem in itself where everything is connected. So for sure, you don't need a separate bank in the future to drive this and go there, because everything is part of it anyway. And also even when you think about investments, if I'm investing in a house or whatever, or I'm investing in an NFT, you can make this, and the credit you need for that, there are also companies already using NFT as a collateral. This is all embedded, so it's all contextualized with the journey you have anyway and what you do anyway. So I cannot imagine that there will this what we have nowadays, and we don't have the branches anymore, yes, but there will this what we have in our mind, physical or non-physical virtual. There are some banks already there, yes, but this is only transformation to the bigger picture.
No, very
Absolutely.
well said. And I would like to just, a thought came to my mind, and that was that will not metaverse streamline a lot of industries in a way that they ingest into the metaverse? I think that will be another thing, because I always thought there is a customer in the transaction. I think this will become much. This will simplify a lot many complexities in across industries and bring it all in a different format. And I think that is going to be huge going forward as
Yes.
well.
Yes, so Shailendra, another thing that I think a very interesting point that Malta has brought here is essentially, see, many things which we think today is inevitable, or it is, for example, some of the banking services, this will actually going to disappear because these are going to be embedded within different other services. Okay,
Exactly.
so that is something, a great transformation that is going to come.
Yeah. If I could just add, I think it'll lead to the rise, as Martin Utpal was saying, what's called the invisible bank. Say invisible banking, frictionless
Yes.
financial services embedded across everything, everywhere, so that literally the bank will become invisible and frictionless in your user experience and interactions.
No,
Absolutely.
you're absolutely right. Sorry, we're saying the same thing at the same time. But you're Fabian, thank you for putting that question out. I think we spent a good 5 minutes on that. Thank you very much for that. Hope you got the answer and more than that. Okay, the next question or the comment comes from Mario, and he says, Imtiaz, pointed to Imtiaz, we would love to hear what AI will do with the metaverse.
That's a great question. I think AI will be absolutely fundamental in cornerstone of the metaverse, be it enabling the edge computing, the 3D experiences with computer vision, and as I mentioned, state-of-the-art multimodal, multitasking transformer models that are going to enable both language and vision to work together. So the AI will be able to use something known as object detection and recognition to understand the world around it, and then also help provide the language context. We'll also see AI in the form of neural agents making language disappear as a barrier. So the example that you gave, Shailendra, of shopping anywhere in the world, from whether you're in Sydney and yet you could walk around a shop, a store, a virtual store that could be in India or it could be in Japan, wherever, and you could actually be speaking to them in that, like they hear you in their language, even though you could be speaking English. They can hear you in Mandarin, they can hear you in Vietnamese and Arabic, French, etc., and you hear them back in English. So that'll be AI enabled, and the hyper-personalisation, the recommendations, etc., all can be driven by AI. So understanding context, managing this huge set of data, enabling the whole network to work as well. AI will be crucial in that, given the vast amounts of data. So it's really going to drive this hyper-personalisation and this real-time interaction.
Good stuff. I will move on to the next question, and I know that's quite interesting to me as well, and it's already happening. So, question from Dr. Ramesh Khare. Ramesh Khare, hopefully, Dr. Ramesh, I've got your second name right. Any metaverse use case for education sector? Well, I would start and then I'd get to the guess, but my initially when I was creating that video, I had a piece for education as well, which I opted out. So I think there is already a use case. What do you think, Utpal? I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think the first thing when I thought of metaverse was a edutech or education kind of a use case only that came into my mind, because this virtual interactive immersive classroom for any kind of skilling, reskilling, upskilling kind of thing, or any kind of education is a great use case for metaverse. Okay, and I think all my co-panelists will definitely agree with me. So yeah, that's what I can say, Shailendra. Yes.
Good stuff. What do you think, Martha?
Yeah, I think already Facebook also shared in their video about Meta the part of the educational part, what it could be. So learning in the metaverse will be quite different, because if you think about, for example, a very practical thing is like Hyundai had test cars in the metaverse for their clients. So you could also think about physical experiments, chemical experiments, and all this experiential learning what you normally do at school. You can easily do that in the metaverse, and the universe again has a lot of possibilities there to learn, not only from reading and hearing, but more, as we know, the best we learn is 95% of what we learn is from these experiments, from this interaction. So this kind of interaction in the metaverse will open up absolutely new possibilities. And there's a very nice thing from an artist, a Pakistani artist who lives in the UK. She has an initiative which is called Women Rights. And also as part of this, in some of the countries where girls cannot really do schooling physically, they cannot go to schooling for religious reasons or for other restrictions, you could have very nice schools in the metaverse for them where they can interact, where they can learn. So this is also something which can be offered in the metaverse is not only about the money, but it's about more inclusion of people. So we haven't talked about people with disabilities. So Facebook yesterday had an ear aid also for people with disabilities. So there are lots of more options for people who maybe cannot do certain things today, which they can explore and do better in the metaverse. So this is the other feature of it. That's why I believe education, healthcare are really, really great things in the metaverse, despite the fact that we all talk about shopping.
Good stuff. Imtiaz, you want to add anything?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think great observations from both Marta and Utpal there as well. Essentially, through COVID, we've just gone through a period where education was heavily disrupted in many places in the world, and it was often having to go remote, and there were mixed views, sometimes good, sometimes not. But when we were able to put these on and be in that immersive environment and have going back to AI, an AI agent helping tutor you. So maybe one person needs a bit more help in maths, another person needs a bit more help in language. They're trying to learn a foreign language, and can give them that personalized tuition on their individual needs. Somebody is trying to learn, having some issues with chemistry or physics, an AI agent, plus in the virtual reality world, could show them the concepts in 3D, interact and see, and kind of really see how things are happening with physics or chemistry in a virtual environment, and actually take that away. So, things like coding, for example, learning coding, instead of sitting at a desk for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, then you come away feeling strange. With your glasses, you can open a virtual screen and have a virtual keyboard at height that works for you, drag, drop, etc. Or perhaps it's going to be voice activated and dragging and dropping. The way we probably even code and even learn software engineering may totally change every single way. And I could be attending a virtual class with somebody on the other side of the world, and sharing experiences, cultural experiences, etc. Again, language. Even though you can have a virtual agent, you could also have somebody from the other side of the world, a different country, and you're conversing with each other and helping each other learn respective languages through the metaverse. It's just so many exciting opportunities and potential.
Now, let me say something here. This means that you can touch and feel physics. You'd be able to touch and feel chemistry. Remember, in our good old days, we had to learn it and read it 15 times so that you can remember it for the exam tomorrow. Now, when you'll be able to touch argon and as AR and touch the chemical which is gold, or the metal which is gold, and play with it, I think you will not forget it for a long period of time, and you don't have to memorize it, and it will be a different experience. And I think that's the place that we're getting into. And to be honest, I have a request on this show. I request to the government of India, who has now released millions and millions of dollars, or billions of dollars, in digital university, to incorporate metaverse as part of their environment, and build it in a metaverse, the digital university that they're building. And to the finance minister and to the prime minister, Mr. Modi, this is a request. Please, please, please bring metaverse in, and hopefully the next generation starts touching and feeling as they go into the next year. And I'm more than happy to do whatever it takes and help that generation if it needs be. I'm just a phone call away if I can do anything about it. Anyways, but that is going to be a game changer. Imtiaz, Martha, Utpal, you've actually touched it. You've just hit it on the head. I think it's a game changer. Even for my kids who will be able to touch and feel, instead of just remembering it by reading it again and again or writing it, it'll be a different experience altogether. Okay, I won't get carried away any further and get to the next comment.
Sally, just one addition. What they are developing is not only that you touch and feel, but also that you can smell. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting also development where there are already companies who do that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So I've got a few comments, but I will just take one of the comments which came from Praloy Mitra. Hi, Praloy. How are you? He says, AR, yup, NTT Docomo have already defined a vision for 2020 and 2012. Some of those predictions are yet to become a reality. Um, my view, yes, it would have been defined in 2012 and are not reality as yet. But the way metaverse is moving and AI is moving, it's a different ball game. What do you think, guys?
Uh,
Imtiaz?
yeah, and let's not forget 5G technology wasn't available in 2012, right?
Exactly.
And 5G, even in 2020, a lot of standalone 5G hasn't been prevalent. So standalone 5G is a key enabler. At the same time, glasses technology is getting much better, much more lightweight. So over the next 1 to 2 years, we're probably going to see the launch not just lighter, more efficient 5K enabled virtual reality glasses. We're going to see the arrival of mixed reality glasses from the likes of Apple and others out there, which is going to be transformative because with mixed reality, you can actually go into holographic experiences as well and that interact with the world around you.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. What do you think, Martha?
No, no, I think this is a very important point. So a lot of people ask, why now? You know, also Second Life has a lot of the experience already years ago. It's because the mindset accelerated through COVID. So our preparedness to interact with those technologies is much, much, much higher, is one. But the second one, which Intias mentioned, is the most important, the tech. The tech is now really there to develop it further. And if you think about the best example, smartphone, if you had this 10 years before it actually came to the market, it would have been very useless. Yeah, it would not have been the same because you didn't have the technology which connected everything with each other. But now we have what I would call a hyper connectivity of a lot of the different tools we have in tech which make it possible. So that's why.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Good
so
stuff.
correct. Yeah, so I think I completely agree with both of three of you. And what I see is like if you go back to the history also, like so you can see this is a technological revolution the metaverse itself is bringing. And if you go back to any technological revolution in the past, it is not only one factor but multiple factors came together, okay, and complementing each other and bring about that kind of a revolution, right? And the right moment is very very important, the right time, bringing things at the right time. I mean, having said that, uh, probably some things will not happen what has been predicted at that moment of time, but you cannot stop this to come. This is already coming, and this is coming in a big way, and it is better that we accept it, okay, and we embrace it with open arms.
One of my ex-bosses used to say, a steam engine is coming towards you. You can only do two things: stand in front of its way, and it'll run you over, or you jump on it and take the and take the engine and get on the bogie. So the choice is yours. Anyways, let's get to the next comment. Um, One of the LinkedIn users, I didn't get the name come through. So branch is a very hot topic. Spot on, Martha. Many banks already have replaced face-to-face meetings across many departments. For example, personal banking, mortgages, wealth, private, with video calls and digital signings. So yeah, that's happening. Let me get to the next comment. Next question. Sorry. Um, Praloy Mitra says, what is the panel's view on the limitation of the hardware available, allowing people to move from physical world to the digital world? There is a lot of innovation still pending in the hardware for moving to the digital world from from the physical world. What do you think, guys?
I think
So this
Imtiaz
can,
already mentioned it that we have quite a lot of tech already. So instead of the heavy Oculus, for example, we have the glasses coming from Apple. But also in the last Earth cast show, it was shown that you have even lenses which you can put on your eyes. So again, it is still quite hardware heavy, maybe what we feel today, but it will change completely. And then with Elon Musk, with the Neuralink, which he is developing. He's not a big fan of the metaverse, but nevertheless, he developed the Neuralink for all kinds of things, including healthcare. But certainly, if you have a chip in your head and you can connect, then you don't need hardware anymore. And he has this already developed. So he has tested this with apes and pigs, as some of you might have seen. It's always the beginning, unfortunately, with the poor animals. In the future, we might be even able to test those things within the metaverse. Yeah.
And he also says, before you go, Imtiaz, I just want to complete the comment. He says, banking requires high level of security. Physical banks cannot be removed yet, in his point of view. Imtiaz.
Yeah, so just adding on what Marta said, and I think Marta wrote the key points, but essentially, I stress again, 5G, standalone 5G is very different from going from 3G to 4G. And as Marta said, if you'd have had a smartphone in the 2G era, it wouldn't have been very useful. So absolutely, but the metaverse will keep on evolving, and whether you're going to call it metaverse, omniverse, or this vision of the internet of everything, where we go ultimately the complete convergence. We may well go from glasses to lenses. Not everybody can wear a lens in their eyeball. I'm not a fan of putting a chip in the brain. I think it'll be wireless with 6G, so that you'll have a cap, if you like, at that point, and or it could still be through the glass, connecting to your thoughts, if you like. So I think rather than drilling a chip into the head. So certainly a lot of work has been done with the wireless ones, but you really need 6G to make those more effective, which could be around 28 or probably more likely 2030. So there's going to be constant evolution here, and the technology is going to get better and better, lighter and lighter. So Apple, Meta themselves have put $10 billion, as we found recently, into developing these glasses, etc. Infrastructure, hardware, and Microsoft and many others are going to come out with lighter and lighter, far better hardware over the next couple of years.
Interesting. Utpal, you want to add something?
Yeah, I think both Malta and Imtiaz has covered it pretty well. But what I can imagine also, again, it is on the imagination level. I mean, why only wearable? Even the room that you are sitting in, right? Even the walls of your room, okay, or your table that you are touching, or the chair that you are sitting, okay, all can be enabled with that kind of emerging experience. Okay, so no need to put chips inside your brain for neural links or kind of things. Okay, the cabin that you are sitting in, that entire thing can give you that experience. And now coming to the next part, what I think I would like to answer that, like banks requires a lot of security and other things. So let's go back to 15 years. Okay, no bank were ready to move to cloud. Okay, not even single application. Okay, and now you see banks are actually there in a what do you call the marathon to go to cloud, right? So that is the kind of thing it is happening, because the security and all other things has been taken care. I mean, when technology is there, those things can be taken care of. So I think that will be my answer to that.
Okay. Let's quickly move on. We're running short of time. Questions are just keep pouring in. Gokul D says, can we apply detection or classification algorithms over metaverse? I'll give it to Imtiaz. Quick one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, for example, even Unity has their own machine learning library. It already enables object detection. So, yes, you can detect objects and classify them with, as we do with TensorFlow, etc. So, absolutely, the metaverse will have a lot. As I mentioned, I believe a lot of it will be multimodal, so that you'll have multitasking AI, multitasking AI agents that can combine computer vision, which is detection, etc., with language in one agent. I think that's going to be essential for the metaverse.
Good stuff. Let me move on to the next question. Next question is from Shruti Singh, and she says, I'm curious how the education system is going to change or develop after this technological revolution. I think we've discussed that, so I'll skip that question for a minute. Anyone wants to say something?
Yeah, so Shailendra, if you allow me, I'll have to drop because I've got another meeting. So I'll take your pardon and pardon from that.
Yeah. Just give me 2 seconds.
Yeah,
Just
sure,
give me 2 questions, and then we'll quickly go. This one looks good. How Metaverse shall be data complaint across globally? Sunil T. I have no idea. The question is, um, okay, let's quickly go to any of the interesting question. Here's the
I think
question.
what this means is actually it's a data compliant across globally. That was probably to the point where I mentioned we need to think about more around the entire world. And I know how challenging and difficult it is because another question was also around different governments and different. But this is we have the United Nations. We have been starting to get bodies together with experts which are globally. And COVID has shown that a global approach is very, very important to us. Yeah. So we cannot be sitting in Switzerland, Sydney, India, London on ourselves. And also this conversation shows if you get it from different angles, it's also always much better. But I agree with you, it's not what we have today. And it's not like you can tick again on a button and say it's all compliant globally.
Good stuff. Utpal, if you want to drop off, you can. I think we'll just continue with a couple of more other questions and then we'll sign off. But thank you for joining,
Thank
Utpal.
you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelly.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Malta and Imtiaz. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. The next question is, here we go. It says, it's from Shruti Singh again. In order to operate inside an interoperable metaverse, many large-scale platforms will need to change their business models. Is that something that we will broadly be accepted?
Well, I think
I think
there
it's
it's
not an option. Sorry, MTS. It's I give you the word in a second. It's not really an option for business to say it's the same like you said with the steam wagon, yeah. So do I throw myself in front of it or I'm on it? That's the situation. MTS.
No, I agree with that. It's are you going to be ahead of it, going to get ahead of the wave, or is the wave going to drown you and go over you? So this is a giant wave that's at very high speed. It's going to be faster change with all these technologies coming together, AI, blockchain, NFT, with 3D, etc. And bringing change in the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years will be greater and faster than we've had over the last 200 years or so since the inception of the Industrial Revolution. It's going to be more change in that in a much more compressed time period. So you have to be agile, you have to be creative, you have to be innovative. So yes, models are going to change dramatically. And I just want to add one more quick thing on the security point that was raised before, which is that actually the issue here is going to be device security, because manufacturers will have to make sure they put paying attention to security at the device level in this era of 5G, etc. So if you don't put adequate security at the device level, you can actually use that to bring down the entire network with DOS attacks. But that's a different story. Cyber warfare, etc. Unfortunately, will be part of our ecosystem.
Okay. Next one. Next question is from Arun Pandey, and he says, "How do we separate the concept of metaverse from the concept of Web3?" Imtiaz?
I mean, some people talk about them as being synonymous or overlapping. Other people get very excited and say Web3 is different from the metaverse. Look, I take the view that the metaverse, and I might be wrong here, but I strongly believe it will become the dominant theme and actually become the version of the internet inside the world. But we tend to find in technology that something really takes over. Like Google is the dominant search engine, etc. You don't think what's Bing gets mentioned, one or two others, but essentially the metaverse, in my opinion, will become the go-to version of our internet today. So in many ways, definitions, it really is going to come down to what the consumer adopts.
Okay. Martha, you want to add, or should I move on to the next question?
Yeah, I mean, there is at least clarity about all the unknown and unclarity that the metaverse and the Web3 is not the same. Yeah, even though both are not defined, but I would say probably the Web3 is some underlying when you talk about blockchain, crypto, and NFTs. That's very clear. That's part of the Web3. And the metaverse is the bigger picture, I would say. And it has a metaverses, if we talk about the 7 layers, which we have seen from John Radoff, that I think describes it very well. And Web3 is part of this.
Okay.
There's a lot of
Next question from Mike Nash. She says, "Great conversation, everyone. Do you think that there's a need to be a focus on monetization, monetizing the metaverse to help speed up adoption commercially?"
There is so much monetization going on, so I
Okay,
wouldn't be
absolutely.
concerned about this, Shelly, right? You were also thinking the same. I could see that from your face here. So all the fashion industry is in it. All
Absolutely.
I mean, they are already monetizing the gaming big time. Facebook, Microsoft, with all the steps in there. Even though they make big investments, they're at the same time also obviously monetizing. So I would not worry about this. People have seen how they can monetize.
Imtiaz, you want to add something? I can say nothing succeeds like success, and you will see.
Mulder is going to be self-fulfilling, and people have already worked it out. And I think the key, rather than the need to monetize, is going to be economies of scale with the headsets, etc., so that the pricing comes down, so you get wider adoption and wide scale and spreading standalone 5G networks. I think those two are going to be key things to really scaling the metaverse.
Good stuff. Next question is from Rajat Kawas. He says, "Do you think future hiring can use metaverse through scenario-based experience?" And I think yes, he's right.
Yeah.
Answer is yes.
Simple answer, yes.
Okay. I'll just try to run through. There's too many coming through. Says one more. Apart from Bitcoin, this is Hansford Rodriguez. He says, apart from Bitcoin and Ethereum, which other cryptocurrencies are widely used across metaverses?
So there's going to be a lot of innovation here. Whilst Ethereum and Bitcoin and others get mentioned a lot, I think a lot of other things are going to emerge as well. Some of them might be they're not operating through private blockchains or permission blockchains, because, for instance, financial institutions will want anti-money laundering KYC. There are solutions, for example, we create NFT-based solutions around that. So I think a lot of new innovations will occur, new cryptocurrencies will come in. Utpal mentioned how the government of India was looking at a digital currency. Many governments will also launch their own currencies that will operate in the metaverse. So, to say which other ones, probably many, and we'll find which one really flies with the customer.
Yeah, I think the one maybe to mention, which is always considered as a big rival to Ethereum, is Solana, because it's another blockchain which provides smart contracts and so on. So this is developing very fast. So in terms of rivals to Ethereum, I would say this is the one.
Okay. There is one more, and possibly I should finish off.
Yeah.
I'm tired, but this is such an exciting topic. It's not ending, and I think everyone wants to contribute and ask questions. Second Life app, Rajat Khawas says, Second Life app, where you have colonies which are almost copy. If what happens in actual universities, skill education can be greatly benefit. Also, all areas where skills development or education is very capital intensive, like medical, healthcare, defense, metaverse can be used as well as you can have multiplayer and learn simultaneously. Absolutely true. Yes, good stuff. I think that's good, and I really liked it. Thank you for that comment, by the way, Rajat. Okay, thank you. One final comment before I go, and I need to say that comment didn't come through for some reason, but this was from my ex-boss, and she says, "What a terrific conversation! Exponential growth in our understanding of the metaverse. So much more of for us all to grasp and adapt to. Generation change ahead."
Yeah, absolutely.
And that didn't come through, but I had to say that, so sorry. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Adam. Oh, sorry, Imtiaz. Sorry, I've just so many names and I've just got confused. Thank you, Imtiaz. Thank you, Martha. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure having you on the show. I think we learned great today. There was lots of information that has gone through. You guys were amazing. Audience was amazing. I think we had so many questions. The questions are still coming in as we speak. So thank you all. Thank you for your time and really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shelley. Thank you. Thanks to the audience. Brilliant. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye. Okay, guys. So that was Martha and Imtiaz, and we had Utpal as well, who we left. So what I'll do is, I will not go today. Will not go just like this. I will leave you with the video which showcases Metaverse. We started at the beginning of this episode, and we will end it with that as well, so that you guys can get a glimpse of what it will mean, how it will look, what is going to change. Didn't keep um, I didn't keep education in it, so my apologies. But education is also going to change. Here we go. Thank you very much, guys. It was pleasure having you here, and I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you liked the content. I hope you liked what you heard today. Metaverse is going to change our lives as we go forward, and this was an attempt to spread the awareness, to show you what you have not seen or what is missing. So thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and comment on this video as much as you can, so that more and more people can see this, learn from it. And wherever you're watching this on, whether LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or any of the channels where it is streaming, please follow, subscribe, like, whatever you can do to promote this, so more and more people can learn. This is an attempt from us to tell you what is coming and is going to hit us at a million kilometers per hour speed. So let's go with it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.